Cadillac. Yes, I'm Cadillac Dixon. I'm the Draw My Life Prison Life. I'm the legally blind artist that is rapping and painting for justice, hoping to see justice before all face too bleak. Yes, it's your girl Cadillac. Anyways, I'm coming through today, April the 7th, 27th. I'm sorry, I'm going back in time. April the 27th, 2024. A few hours before I have to go in and join my workshop, girl, because we work to live and we live to work. Hustle hard until it hurts. Work your fingers down to the bone. And once you pay your bills, ain't got nothing to come home with. Hey, once you pay your bills, ain't got nothing to come home with. Once you pay your bills, ain't got nothing to come home with. Yeah, it's your girl Cadillac. Anyways, I'm coming through because I do have my notes. Last few days, I've been saying I needed to go ahead and do them. I'm gonna let this. Whew, I'm gonna regret this too, but I'm gonna let this window up just in case. Just in case. Maybe I cut the air on, but it makes so much noise. I'm sorry, guys. I am in Florida, and today is a hot day, like a hot. Gotta use my rapper voice. It's so hot. Um, Hopefully that's not too distracting, and we'll just hurry up and go through the list. That feels worse, honestly, than the windows down. This is blowing hot air. So let's cut that back off. We got that window over there on that side down. But I really need this one cracked. But the wind noise is coming through the window. All right. So, anyways, I have notes. It is choose one door. I don't know if you can see this little illustration. I am really trying, like right here. I am trying to get my computer back up and running so I can graphically design some of these things. Do some no, they're not informationals. What are they called? The little charts. Gosh, I can't think of the name. But they're like diagrams that basically are explaining what you're trying to say. And I am a visual person. Like I can see as I know exactly what I'm trying to say. But it's like from brain to mouth, something gets discombobulated to where it doesn't come out the way that it's in my mind, right? So sometimes that's why I love to use like metaphors, like comparing something to something so that I can actually get across the meaning I'm trying to say, because sometimes I don't get the meaning across with mere words. Or I can use illustrations and I can draw you what I'm picturing, what I'm trying to say. A picture is worth a million words, right? 1,000 words, girl. But for me, it's hard to verbally communicate sometimes. Those things help me to show you what I'm really trying to say. So hopefully soon, guys. I've been so busy, um, like since I've come back from my granddaughter's staycation birthday week. I've just been drained, and then right after that, we spent days in the hospital. So I just feel like I'm trying to get my strength back. I don't know why I'm so depleted, so tired, and then also taking a step back and looking over my life, I see that all the continuous hard, continuous work has not really paid off in my life. So that as well is making me discouraged and not really wanting to do more hard work because I'm like, my hard work gets me nowhere. So it's a lot of trying to get rest for my body and trying to reset my mind so that I can keep moving forward. Um, so hopefully soon I do find my computer where I can start illustrating some of these things. And that's what I wanted to do. So the illustration is three doors basically. There's the door of family, you have the door of passion and purpose. Like this is my passion, this is my purpose. I love to speak about justice. I love to, like, I've been through so many unjust and unjust situations that I really literally just thought I was cursed. Like, there's nothing good for me in this world. Only the bad things can happen to me. And it wasn't until being revealed some things by God that those unjust and unjust things that happen to me are because He wants me to fight injustice, right? So, how could I fight injustice if I've never been done unjustly? I wouldn't understand it. I would be judgmental, like so many are, about those that experience injustice. They're judgmental. Like, say the woman that is R. This is just an example. Well, she shouldn't have been dressed like that. Oh, she should have been out at night by herself, or things like that. You know how we love to victim blame. We blame the victim and not the victimizer. So I would possibly still have that type of mindset if I hadn't been through so much injustice in my life. So you got to go through to understand it. And then once you understand and you fight your way out of it, you can help those with their fight, right? But I really literally thought I was just cursed, girl, for real. And then the third door is adulting, everything, like literally all the stuff that that's world keeps you busy with, so that it keeps you away from the other two doors, family, passion, and purpose. It keeps you from those doors when you constantly have to renew this, or you have to pay this bill, or you got to hurry up and make it to the store so that you can pay your rent. Like, literally, they don't make it easy to pay your rent no more, where you could just literally send a check or a money order. It takes actual effort to, or you're gonna pay if you don't take the extra steps of effort. You pay for the convenience when it never was a convenience before. Like, crazy. Like, it's just so much to do. Like, literally, it is so much to do, and half of only a few things get done. So you roll that to do list over to the next day, and it occupies so much of your day. Also, adulting is working. Under adulting, any adult has to work, right? Because we work to live and live to work. So, and then you got to come off of work, you're tired AF, but you got to wash, you got to clean, you gotta cook, you gotta make sure that you're ready for the next day. So it is three doors. That's it. And it's literally hard to go to do all of them. So you have to choose one door. Okay, so this is where this video is. That's like the setting of this video, these notes. Okay, choose one door. You can't do it all. Family, passion and purpose, adulting. Something is bound to fall. I don't know why I even added the last part, because that rhymed. Something is bound to fall. Choose one door. You can't choose them all. Something is bound to fall. But then I got by the wayside. I didn't realize that it kind of rhymed on its own, so I really didn't need to add that by the wayside. Okay, in most people's lives that struggle to make ends meet and struggle just to stay afloat, there some sort of life event that causes that to be their situation, usually, of course. I'm not saying this is a definite, absolute truth, but in many cases, this is so. This topic came about from a combination of things. A recent video I watched by content creator Alicia Renice. I love her, girl. Actually, I need to link that video that I watched of hers in the description box about hating living in poverty. A recent conversation I had with my daughter about where I think my life went wayward. And that conversation was brought on by talking to her about how both my parents came out of poverty and then became well-to-do middle-class citizens, basically. Like, they both, my mother came from west side Chicago. She always talks about how they grew up on welfare. It was to a single mother. My grandmother was a single mother of many children. It was like 9 children. And oh gosh, didn't push do not disturb, so I'm gonna be disturbed. I'm sorry, guys. My dad grew up with in the deep south in Mississippi. Basically, my grandfather, it was farm life. Basically, that's how they made their living on the farm. They didn't have much. My dad tells stories about all he wanted for Christmas was a slingshot, and they would just get a bag of fruit for Christmas and stuff like that. They came out of extreme poverty, both of them. My dad's family migrated to Chicago through that great migration, right? And that was the thing to do, just get out of the South, right? And then my mother just grew up in the hoods of Chicago, and she just always wanted to get out, right? And somehow they were able to get out. Let me see, do I explain this later before I get more in depth in that conversation? Trying to find my spot. Okay, so they came out of poverty and then became well to do middle class citizens. The expected path for me would be for me to at least be middle class. So for me, being raised by both parents, middle class, basically have not having any needs, like not at all. I can never tell you a day our lights were off. I can never tell you a day that we went without eating or this and that. We always had as a child growing up. If not well to do. So maybe we were even higher than middle class, to be honest with you. But that's how I grew up. So it would have been expected for me to be at least middle class, right? Okay. If not well to do. All the many talents I have that could be monetized. Upon analyzing my parents' situation, I realized that my dad's talents is what broke my family out of the endless cycle of poverty. So, if it were not for my father, excuse me, my hands going numb. If it were not for my father and uncle having these talents, my father is a very talented construction worker. More than just a construction worker that can build. He can visually, like, it starts all in their mind. Gosh dog it, it'll put my notes all the way on the floor. Starts in their mind, and they can go from mental to the concept into building into, like, they built on some very like prestigious things. They've done a lot. And because they were so talented coming from Mississippi to Chicago, and people basically seen how talented my father and my grandfather were on building. They even worked on the skyscrapers in Chicago and stuff. That there was this opportunity to come and help build up an emerging Florida. Florida was nothing. Back roads, dirt roads. I remember when we moved here, it was a freaking dirt road that you had to drive down to get here. There was nothing in the area. And the next door to us was really, we lived on the outskirts of a sundown town, basically. And we were reloaded. We were coming here in a time where Black people did not live in this area. We literally were the second. There was an older Black couple that lived on the end of the block, and it was us. Like, the rest of the neighborhood was all, it was an all white neighborhood. There may have been one Hispanic family, and then it was just us, like getting our house built from ground up. And it was a lot of like people not understanding, like, how the Black people get over here, how they get this money to get into this neighborhood like this, basically. But this is when we were moving back and integrating back into this city, which this city, well, we live on the outskirts of that city, but that city was basically, which I did not find out till years later through being a historian. I want to learn about the past. I want to Find out why things, if you see things in such a detrimental way, they didn't just become like that. There is something that caused that detriment. And I like to dig deeper and see why is it that way? Why do these certain groups of people act like this? Why is this the way things are? Why? It's always a why. And once you get past what is happening and you find out why what is happening, that's where you can find your solution to make it not happen like that no more. Alter the path of things. But a lot of people don't like to dig deeper. But I like to know why things are this way. And let's tackle that. Let's dig beneath that. Okay, so my father's talent is what brought us up out of that poverty. Because even once my father grew up in rural Mississippi, and then basically my mother and my father tell me the story about how they had a one room apartment, which is basically an efficiency. And it was not in a great side of town in Chicago, and how they moved from that to having the biggest house on the block. And even when my mother did move, because when the thought came, my father used to come to Florida. We would be in Chicago. My father would come to Florida, and they would do certain jobs, and they would come back, right? And then that opportunity came. Florida's emerging. Florida is building up, and the opportunity for them to move to Florida and build here full time came. And my mother was like, "No, I'm moving to no Florida. No, I'm a Windy City girl. Like, all I know is city life. I am not going to no darn Chicago. I mean, no darn Florida," which my father came out of rural Mississippi. So Florida was somewhat like that, but no, Mississippi was way more rural than Florida was. So he kind of was okay with that style of living. So he came from poverty in Mississippi to poverty in Chicago to doing well to do in Florida. My mother came from poverty, but when she moved here, she still had the mindset that what poverty does to you is it encloses you, it unboxes you, it makes you feel limited, not limitless. You feel limited. Oh, please. Let me put do not disturb because it's going to keep on doing it. You go from feel limitless to limited. You're limited in your resources. You're limited in what you can do. You're limited in where you can go. You're limited in where you can live. You're limited in what relationships you can have, basically, because people that are in poverty, successful people don't usually network with people that are in poverty, right? You tend to network with who is in your financial realm, basically. So my mother came here with the mindset of some things that I can't do that. Like, she always worked like restaurant jobs. And this was her first time having a actual sit at a desk job. But my mother was so scared to even apply for it, because before applying she was like, I can't work that, they're not going to give me that type of job. And my dad basically was like, you gonna apply, go on and apply. Oh, because my dad was tough. He said what he said, and that's what he said. Girl, go on to bed. So she applied and she got the job, and she worked. It was with the company. Oh, both of my hands are, oh Lord, I wish I could have my hands. I wish my hands could function the way they're supposed to, rather than constantly being numb and feel like hard pieces of rock that I could barely utilize. But thank God that I have them. Okay, so, and she worked for the company of AT&T for decades. She actually worked from that time in the 80s all the way until 2016 when she passed from an outpatient surgery. She worked that long for AT&T, and made decent money, like decent money. So, And then she went to school. So my mother was just so brilliant. But that broke that I can't do these certain things because of being limited. Now, a lot of people do come down on people in poverty and be like, you just don't want no better. You don't realize that poverty creates mental boundaries. And sometimes mental boundaries are harder to break through than actual boundaries. And I know it now because I can overcome so many mental things, I mean, physical things that are over me. Like even with this carpal tunnel, I'm barely able to hold this phone, but I'm still holding this phone, baby. I can overcome physical. But when it's mental and you start thinking, no, this is where I'm limited, I can't get no higher than this that they have said I can get to that point and I cannot get beyond that. And you try and you try and you try and it solidifies in your mind that there's no more for you. This is what it is. That's when hopelessness comes in. That's when you start saying, hell with it, just do what I want to do because doing the right thing doesn't get me too far. That's where those type of mindsets come in. And my mother was able to break through that by being basically like almost forced into that spot. And sometimes that's what it takes. It's like I always wanted to go back to school. I always knew I had more in me. I knew I had potential. I knew I wasn't just this statistic. Like I knew I wasn't just the single mother and this and that there was something inside of me that I could be more. Now, I ain't gonna say I actually am more. Basically, I have the credentials to be more, but it wasn't until I had the slip and fall and was forced out of my job, my manual labor. That's all I've ever worked in my life, manual labor. So now it's hard for me to believe that I can make a living out of anything but manual labor. But I don't have the body to do manual labor anymore. And that is almost parallel to what my mother, she didn't think that she could do certain things, right? Um, and it wasn't until I had that slip and fall, was fired, and started over at rock bottom that I ended back up in school, right? I never would have ended up in school without being pushed through that barrier. Okay, so the expected path for me would be for me to be at least middle class, if not well to do, due to all the talents that I have that could be monetized. Upon analyzing, and also I think because my talent wasn't cultivated, it wasn't like I probably could reach the skies, the moon, the stars, and everything, but I just don't know how to. I'm honestly telling you guys, I'm completely confused how to get past this boundary in my life. Um, and I probably could get through it. It's just I don't know how to, and I'm so frustrated with trying to. Um, I realized my dad' talent is what broke my family out of the endless cycle of poverty. If it wasn't for him, most likely we still would have never escalated in class. And that gives me an analogy, the perfect visual. The image of one of those resort hotels or venues or something and comparing class to an elevator. That certain key cards would open certain doors on certain floors. So let's say poverty is the budget stay. You have a poverty card, key card, because that's all you could really afford. So your key card is programmed to only allow you to elevate from 1 to 2 floors. Middle class key card can access floors 1 and 2, the poverty levels, and let's say it also allows you to patronize floors 3 through 5. So you have more access. You have more um, room to do what you can do. You have more resources. You have more networking abilities, right? Then the wealthy, the entire resort is open with their key card. And then I'm sorry, yeah, then the wealthy, the entire resort is open with the tap of their key card. And the million and billionaires have access to the entire, I mean, entire resort, the tap, the rooftop, the penthouse, etc. So they have they have less limitations placed on how far they can go up or how high, since we're using an elevator analogy, how high they can go. Most act as though all opportunities are open to all, which they're not. We're limited. Some people are limited. You do have opportunities within your limitations, but you don't have the same opportunities. That's just like, you see how a lot of famous people, like, do you know how hard it would be to become a famous musician? I know how hard it would be. Now I know there's some back end stuff of why it's so hard. But someone coming without knowing anybody in the industry, not having no connections, do you know how hard it is for them to have a musical career? They have so many steps they have to take. Now let's take somebody whose father was in the music industry and now they're the second generation wanting to come out and make music. Do you not think the path for them to get to that, even being heard, is going to be easier? Of course it's going to be easier because all they need is a phone call. Hey, my daughter is doing music now. Oh, okay, send her demo on over to me. Let me hear it. And then boom, it's on the radio. She had more opportunity, more, it was more available to her than somebody coming from those poverty key card places, right? Okay. So most act as though all opportunities are open for all individuals when it's actually not. Many truly are limited by poverty. Now, that's not saying you can't get out of poverty. It's just saying that you have less tools. You have less tools to dig you out of this system that actually is built to work against you getting out of that poverty class. It is not often that people grew up in poverty get out of poverty like my parents did. That is not the norm. Many of their friends stayed in that poverty. Many of their colleagues or people they grew up with stayed in that poverty. Not everybody, but many did. And don't you think everybody would get out if it was that easy? Everybody would get out of it. Okay. And then I got this little side note. Okay. When I was driving to work, I thought about the challenges of trying to juggle every aspect of my life. And it reminded me of those gamification apps. And this is going back to those doors, like where you can't just focus on your family. You can't just focus on your passion. You have all these other obstacles with living day to day that comes towards you, right? That you can't concentrate your efforts toward one thing. You have to almost, you're made to multitask. You got to be a great multitasker, which I'm not. I barely have a attention span. But okay, it reminds me of those gamification apps when the internet connection goes out. This game with the dinosaur jumping the cactus. And it's fairly simple as long as the obstacle, which is the cactus, is coming at the dinosaur slowly. So when you don't have to get off of work and hurry up, get home so you can have like 2 hours to work on your passion or purpose or building your business, because you really need your own business to be able to have the time freedom, the flexibility, and do what you want to do. But building it in that little small space and giving your great energy, power, time, and for me, physical ability to a job for the bigger time frame. And then you're trying to pursue something else in this little small compacted space. Okay, so it's simple as long as the obstructing cactus is coming at the dinosaur slowly, one thing at a time. Not having to worry about family while you're at work, not having to worry about your job while you're at home with your family. Like slowly, it's coming at you slowly. There's still obstacles, but you're not having to rush through to take care of everything. Okay, but in the game, the cactus start to come faster and faster. And as soon as you leap and dodge one, the next is right before you, right? You put out one thing. Oh, you got your car fixed, but now something in your house is like messed up, and then you finally get the money to pay for this, but then that, and then that causes more having to go to work because you need more money for this, and that, and like it's coming at you faster. Before, okay, as you leap and dodge, and the next is right before you with no time to even prepare for the jump, let alone recover from the last jump, ultimately leading to crash and burn and game over. And it tells me to I wrote down, give an example of me falling today. Oh, I already did that in the last video, but basically what I'm saying is when things come at you slowly and you're able to deal with them, you have the correct time to deal with each issue as they arise, and you are having complications, but you're able to tackle them. Have the time, space, energy, money to address these issues. Now, like I was saying, the obstacles, I'm a caregiver to my sister. Before I can even leave for work, she has to get ready so that she's ready for the day. My father cannot help her with certain things that a woman can help her with. So I make sure that she's ready. All the while, I'm like, dang, I had woke up late that day and I only had enough time. It was either, sometimes I'm like, dang, maybe I don't even have time to shower because I had to allow her to get ready. And I don't, you know, so I can't rush her because rushing her sometimes will spawn her into going into having a seizure. So any little slight change in emotion can trigger a seizure. So I don't want to do that. So I don't want to make her frantic to where she's rushing and then she seizes, you know. So I let her get ready. Then after I leave the room from her getting ready, I'm frantically running through the house trying to hurry up and get my clothes. I hadn't washed my clothes and I'm just rushing to hurry up and get ready. And then I get in the car. I got this Drive Uneasy app, and I'm like, F that. I'm gonna drive like I'm really trying to get somewhere. And I take off, and I'm driving faster than I normally drive because I'm usually trying to, avoid my score being dropped in this stupid app. And the only reason I got this stupid app is because I need the cheapest insurance. And the only reason I need the cheapest insurance is because I don't make that much money. And the only reason I don't make that much money, like one thing leads to another, leads to another. So I'm driving right. I understand why I'm behind. Like, are the traffic lights longer? Is it more traffic? What is going on that is taking me so long to get to work? So I basically got to work, and then I park my car. I jump out the car. I already have the purse on my shoulder, and I'm about to run. And I run from the parking garage up the escalator all the way to where security is. I quickly get my stuff through security. I'm running past security to my location, and I stop because I'm like, there's two paths. There's the elevator up to where I work, or there's the escalator. Now I'm remembering back. How is this ringing through? All right, guys. I guess I gotta. That's Marcello. But basically, well, let me see if he'll call back in a few minutes where I could tie this up. So I'm like, am I going to take the elevator? But yesterday the elevator wasn't working. So if I take the elevator, I only got 3 minutes to clock in. I'm going to be late. So let me take the escalator. And as I pivoted from going towards the elevator to the escalator, I slipped in a crack and I fell. Like, I cannot be falling like that because I'm already like effed up. I hurt my knee. My knee is still sore and swollen. My hands, that's probably why my hands numb. But I'm like, if I clearly wasn't trying to do too much, I could have been on time without falling and hitting this ground, right? It's trying to juggle way too much. All right, guys, I'm gonna tie this up because I know he's gonna call right back. But I'll talk to you guys later. All right, hiss your girl Cadillac.